Welcome to People Potential with Amanda. Thank you for listening in today. I'm your host, Amanda Flasing, and I'll be bringing on various experts to discuss empowering individuals and organizations to achieve their full potential. Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of People Potential with Amanda. Today, I have Susan Latremoille, who is the co-founder and partner of Next Chapter Lifestyle Advisors and founder of SuccessDNA. Welcome, Susan.
Thanks, Amanda. It's great to be with you.
So, Susan, do you mind just telling us a little bit about yourself before we kick it off with all our questions?
Sure. I'm happy to do that, Amanda. I come from a bit of an unusual background for someone doing Success Finder work. I was a financial advisor actually for 35 years and watched a lot of my clients as they transitioned from their careers and businesses into retirement. And it was clear to them during their careers, their working years, that they either had found their niche in their field or that they were sidelined and just had to do the job and not really have any other choice. But then when they retired, or I watched them go into retirement, I realized that a lot of them had kind of lost that purpose. They'd lost that continuum really of the work they were doing and had this illusion that retirement was going to be just this wonderful thing. And then they didn't succeed at it. So that, coupled with the fact that I did a certification as a family enterprise advisor, made me realize that it was time to really help people with this transition into retirement, and that Success Finder would be a very valuable tool in doing that.
So you kind of naturally got into this niche of lifestyle retirement planning, given your background and your Success Finder certification, et cetera.
Yes, exactly. I just found a way to, I really did the Success Finder certification because I was familiar with a lot of other assessment tools and never found one as succinct and as accurate and as deep as Success Finder. So I was naturally drawn to do the expert level certification and become a practitioner. But at that point, I didn't really have a honed idea of how I was going to use it. But I knew I wanted to do this retirement lifestyle planning, and Success Finder just seemed like a natural fit to really help people in that transition.
Yeah, I mean, finding a new career after retirement can be really daunting, I'm sure. So how would you say you help your clients find a new path or a good work-life or new work-life balance for this journey that they're on?
Exactly. Well, as you say, it's not easy for everyone. Only about a third of people sail smoothly into retirement. And the statistics now show that over 69% of people struggle with the transition. And just for those reasons I mentioned, some maybe are afraid to retire. Some have been put out to pasture against their wishes by being downsized or fired from a role. Other people have a notion that retirement's just going to be this life of leisure and that they'll be satisfied with their bucket list. And other people feel, kind of feel lost and irrelevant, bored, feel purposeless. They don't have a mission in life and so on. So really, a Success Finder seemed to me to be a perfect fit to help people get on their path by knowing first who they really are, doing that deep dive on their behavioral DNA, which is really the essence of Success Finder.
Yeah, absolutely. That self-awareness that comes from your first debrief or like really understanding your Success Finder profile is life-changing for many and can really help bring you in that right direction for your life career path, but also life path, and like what are your priorities, and focusing on your strengths and more and more.
Exactly. No, it's really the lifestyle priorities part of the assessment and the motivations that are big clues for us in how we can help someone get on their path. Because if their lifestyle priorities are still career, then we know that, the typical retirement isn't going to suit them and that they should probably be doing something that will replace or satisfy those priorities that they have for their career. On the other hand, if someone has a high priority on, let's say, relaxation, loved ones, community, humanitarianism, then we see, well, maybe there's more volunteer type roles or things that help the community that they're more interested in. So the lifestyle priorities and motivations are a huge part of it, but also the whole picture. I can't really just isolate out any one area of the assessment, because what I've learned as an expert level practitioner is that you really have to weave it all together. You have to see clues from one category to another and be able to synthesize really what the results are telling you into how, and then how to articulate that and interpret it for the person that you're talking to.
Absolutely. Those nuances and the dynamics between the different traits and different sections, different competencies. Everyone is so unique. And that's what's great about having a consultant that's working with you one-on-one that can really understand you, and you can have that journey together where you'll guide and advise them.
Yeah, I would say that the success finder is the science and the practitioner is the art. So if as a practitioner, you bring the art to the science to have that perfect marriage in working with the client. And fortunately, I'm high in linguistics, so the ability to articulate and express ideas comes rather easily to me. And it allows me to really communicate closely with the client. Of course, I look at their profile to see, their level of disclosure, how sensitive they are to criticism, etc., and how things I say might be perceived by them. So it gives me clues really on how to relate to them in a way that suits their personality and their way of listening and so on.
I love that. The consultant or practitioner as the art and artist, and success finder as the science. I will certainly be reusing that one. Thank you, Susan. So you really found your niche and you seem really passionate about it. I can hear just speaking to you. But what tips do you have for other coaches who are finding their own niche? And, lifestyle retirement planning might not be where they fit in, but, how did you get to where you are now, and what tips do you have for others?
Well, I think looking at life as a continuum, it's always best to leverage what you know. So I fortunately had this knowledge of working with clients through their transition into retirement, but my focus at the time was largely financial, managing their money and doing financial planning and so on. But I observed the gap that existed with most financial advisors, which is not really understanding more than what the client's bucket list was about their future. And I believe that a financial advisor cannot do a good financial plan until they have a more detailed understanding of what the client's life journey is going to be. And let's face it, most people that are retiring today are going to live another 25 to 30 years, or that's about 10,000 days of life. So that's a long time to not have a plan. And it's a long time to just sort of flounder around and not really know, what motivates you and what your priorities are. And it's too late in life to be just trial and error. You can get away with that when you're a teenager and you're a student. But at this stage of life, you have no time to really waste in getting to the essence of who you are. So the Success Finder is really helpful in that regard. So to other coaches, consultants, practitioners, I would say find something in your past or in your role, your current work, that you can leverage, that you can take what you already know that's unique to you and no one else has had your life experience, and then find a way to integrate that with the benefits of Success Finder. And I think when you leverage what you already know and you identify a problem that exists for people, and Success Finder can be part of the solution, then I think you've got a winning combination.
Absolutely. Thanks for the great advice, Susan. I think even you must be quite high on self-understanding and self-awareness because so bringing that in, what your natural strengths are, and then your skills and experience and, like past experience together, and looking for that opportunity is some great advice to newer coaches or coaches still trying to find their specific niche. So let's dive into how do you use Success Finder in your daily practice? you had told me a little bit about a 5-step process, and I'd really like to hear more.
Right. So we call that our next chapter lifestyle game plan. And it's really designed for people either that are preparing for retirement, let's say they're 3 to 5 years out and they want to get a plan together. For people that are on the cusp of retirement, like we have many clients who are CEOs, business owners, they're so busy running their companies or they're working in their roles that they haven't really thought about what's next. So this is ideal for them, as well as people who transitioned into retirement and then are finding maybe it's not all that it was cracked up to be, something's missing. So the Success Finder assessment being step one of our process is really designed at those groups of people. So our 5-step process starts with the Success Finder assessment, the debrief, and the written reports. My business partner, Marianne, has developed for step 2 of our process, the deep dive discovery, which is an inventory of about 60 different exercises, some reflective thinking, some writing exercises. And we put the client into some of those exercises to complete. The third step of the process is our clarity matrix, and we bring the results of the Success Finder assessment and combine those and integrate those with the results that they've come up with, the writing and the ideas that they've come up with on their own through the exercises. And then we help them build their happiness portfolio for retirement, which consists of the 8 areas of life, of which money is not one of them. And by building their happiness portfolio, just like a financial portfolio, there's a balance, it's diversified, and they have a better chance of living that happy retirement life when they've thoughtfully planned their happiness portfolio. And then the 5th step of the process we call the Rewirement Check-In. And what this is a follow-up with them to make sure that they said that they're doing what they said they would do, that they not only set their vision, but they're actually executing their plan to implement it as well. It's kind of like a personal trainer is with your exercise to make sure you're doing things correctly.
Yeah.
So some of the things that we find if people say, well, I've always wanted to take a course in whatever, did you sign up for the course? If they're saying, volunteer work appeals to me, well, have you contacted the organization or researched the field of volunteerism that you want to participate in? If they've decided they're going to consult or work part-time or start a new business, then what steps have they taken? And we do several of these rewirement check-ins to make sure they're on track. So really, that process, the next chapter lifestyle game plan, is designed to help people set their vision, know themselves, and then make a plan and execute a plan for their next chapter.
Sounds incredible, like incredibly complete, and you're really guiding and supporting while giving freedom to your client to really go through the process themselves and put in the work so that they're accountable. And then with the follow-ups, the implementation is usually the hardest part. So those follow-ups and the 5th step, I think, is so important.
So there are many clues that come up during the Success Finder assessment. And I'm thinking of a couple right off the bat. One was a dentist who had retired and sold his practice. And when I did his debrief, on the wall behind him were all these sports jerseys framed. And then he talked about his interest in running and tennis and so on. And sure enough, sport showed up as an area of interest. He never thought of it before, but even though he was past his prime in terms of running and playing tennis, the idea came up that he could coach. And he had a grandson on a soccer team. So he got very excited about the idea that he could apply this interest in sport in a way that he could also be with his family and help out. So that was one example. Another one is a helicopter pilot. And of course, he scores very high for electronics, engineering, all the mechanical things you'd need to know. Transportation was big. But then he also had this visual arts and writing. So for him, even though his career was as a helicopter pilot, now there's a new lease on life with this latent, I guess, interest or expertise in communication, in writing, in visual arts, and so on. So even if people aren't looking for a career, like the list of 500 careers that Success Finder matches, there are a ton of clues that I find when we're working with people about their next chapter and what's going to really ideally suit them as they go through.
Absolutely. So you could use our list of benchmarks, and that number is constantly fluctuating to bring in new types of roles. Or you could also just do in parallel or alone a deep dive on the profile, and you see with the nuances and the dynamics between the competencies and traits, all those clues of where a person would be best suited and what type of career would bring them success and satisfaction.
That's right. It doesn't necessarily have to be a career. It could be looking at those 8 areas of their happiness portfolio. So it's really a combination, as you say, of using the traits, the competencies, and then the matches with the career themes or the actual roles. Because sometimes they might not be looking for the job of what the roles is, but it gives them a lot of ideas. So sometimes I use the report heavily more focused on the competencies, and sometimes I go right to the more to the career themes. It depends on the person and what the Success Finder assessment shows up. But I should also point that they get 2 debrief sessions. I failed to mention that. We do the first debrief session as step 1 after they've done the Success Finder assessment. But usually towards the end of our process, we have another debrief with them because their thoughts have now gelled and been clarified. And the Success Finder helps, the second debrief helps to kind of remind them. And then the light goes on for many of them. Oh, yes, we did talk about that. Now I can see how it fits with my overall plan. And that's the magic in it. And that's what I love about it, is seeing those light bulbs go on for people and to see the excitement that they feel when they really do know themselves and they can start to be clear about their future, having used our process, of which Success Finder is step 1. And I should also add that when we work with couples, we used to make it optional for the other member, the other party in the couple to do their Success Finder, but now we feel it's mandatory because if they're going to be married or have a relationship going forward, it gives them a new language to talk to each other and to understand each other better. So that's part of it too.
Yeah, it really does give that language and that commonality. And I agree that one of the best parts of using Success Finder as a practitioner is that moment when someone understands and they're like, oh, yes, you really understand, you're really explaining me. And that aha moment of sorts makes all that work and preparation worth it when you have that moment together.
Absolutely.
So, Susan, to wrap up, let's just go into your own profile and a bit more personal. How do you unlock your potential?
So for me, when I did my own Success Finder a number of years ago, it showed me that career making a difference was still really important to me. And it showed up my leadership skills, innovative thinking, high intuition, linguistics capability, not very good at relaxing and doing nothing. So I knew that my retirement or so-called retirement wouldn't be that sort of, kicking back, reading books, watching TV, going for walks. I knew that it had to be something more than that. So the Success Finder really inspired me to keep going, even though a lot of people said, well, you're retired, aren't you supposed to be relaxing all the time? But that wasn't in it for me. So I do enjoy a lot of leisure activities, and I love sports and gardening, and that showed up, interestingly enough, in farming and ranching, showed up in the career themes. And that's my gardening green thumb, I guess, that was showing up there. So there were a lot of clues in it for me, both personally and in terms of what I should be doing next with my own life.
Thank you so much for sharing a bit of your journey and some incredible advice to other coaches. And Susan, where is the best place to reach you? We'll link all your sites and we'll put everything in the show notes. But if you could leave us with perhaps one best place for anyone who's interested to reach you.
Good. Well, for more information specifically about Success Finder, SuccessDNA.ca. If people are interested more in our work with the 5-step process, the Next Chapter Lifestyle Game Plan, that's better on nextchapterlifestyleadvisors.com. So those 2 websites have it, and there's contact information on both, but it's really easy. Susan at successdna.ca, or Susan at nextchapterlifestyleadvisors.com. Either way works.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Susan. I really appreciate you taking the time to come chat with me today.
My pleasure, Amanda.
Thanks for joining us on People Potential with Amanda. I appreciate each and every single listen and view. If you've enjoyed this content, it would really mean the world if you could leave us a 5-star review. This will make a huge impact in increasing the visibility of this podcast, on top of brightening the day of a few people here at Success Finder who work really hard behind the scenes to make this all happen. We're continuously working on new episodes, so be sure to hit the subscribe button so you won't miss a thing. Until next time, stay curious.